Is there any media your parents barred you from watching growing up? Growing up, I wasn't allowed to watch Adult Swim. I knew some kids whose parents didn't let them watch SpongeBob. It's unfortunate. My parents were weirder about video games for some reason than films. Because like they were fine introducing me to like Terminator and RoboCop and like Alien and shit like that. But my mum like caught me playing BioShock 1 that I'd like borrowed from a friend. And you know, early on you've got the what's that? You've got like a metal tool in your hand that you're like beating people to death with or something. But yeah, she like saw me beating a splicer to death with a metal pole and was like, "What is this? Turn it off. This is horrible." And she was weird about like GTA and stuff like that as well, because I don't know. It's just parents of that generation, like they just hear. I guess they hear like a news story of Grand Theft Auto. That sounds horrible.
And then you find out fucking 20 years later they were doing fucking mushrooms and all this shit. Like they were just so and they didn't even test their drugs. They just did anything. Someone would just fucking like give them something at a festival. They'd be like, "What's this? I don't know," and then just go on a fucking better. Every single one of the baby boomers are fucking drunk drivers. Okay, ask your parents about that shit. See if they'll be honest about that. Come on, yeah. And then they just hyperfixate over like restricting their kids from like everything, like no weed, no it, and so they like overcompensate in this other direction and go super Christian and shit. Sorry. Yeah,
exactly.
It's a very common story. It's happened to a lot of people. Yeah, my parents also showed me Terminator, but were weird about, like, they would always fast forward through sex scenes, which probably fucked me up. Right. And gave me like some weird...
That's funny, because I think that might be a little bit of a cultural thing. Cause
I know.
That was never an issue. Like sex was just in like quite a lot of stuff growing up.
There was a VHS in my house, and they pointed it out and said, don't you ever play this movie. And I didn't, because I'm not
what was it?
It wasn't as much of a rebel. It was the Rocky Horror Picture Show. It was just the picture of the lips there. And I was just thinking, like, what the fuck? Why did you even own this? If you like, why is this in the house?
Yeah.
Do you watch it? I don't even know. Like, why is that there? I'll have to ask them about that.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, that's really,
because I've never heard them talk about that movie. It doesn't seem like the type of movie that they would even enjoy. So I don't know what the fuck that was about.
Yeah, the sex one is
but funny. I just remember the black background and just the lips, and I just like assumed it was like a horror movie or something. But
yeah, because I've normally heard that about Americans, especially.
Yeah,
where they're fine with the violence, but as soon as anything's sexual, it's all very
we import a lot of our culture from America.
Whereas, of course. Whereas, I don't know, some different attitudes in Europe towards some of these things.
We're Americans that call ourselves not as bad as Americans, is what we are. But culturally, we steal a lot.
Yeah, but I mean, considering how like oppressive a lot of parents are, mine were fine. Those are only the real.
Yeah.
I remember like a little bit weirdness over like South Park, because of its these things that with reputations that preceded them. But like if my parents had ever done that to me, like, this is the one you cannot watch, I would have watched that the next day. I would have snuck it. Yeah, like tell me not to do it and I'm going to want to do it so much more.
I'm sure my brother did.
I'd be so much more curious from that. It's like, well, why? What do you not want me to see then?
I was a good kid. I was a good little child. I thought.
Yeah, I wasn't with stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, they were. They wouldn't let me watch The Simpsons, which is like so tame by today's standards. Oh yeah, but when The Simpsons came out, it was considered edgy. When The Simpsons came out, it was fucking crazy to have a kid say the word "damn" on TV. You're not gonna make me do my damn, like, for a kid to say "eat my shorts," like that was fucking. That was unheard of.
Yeah, he was edgy. Yeah, he was edgy. Edgy.
Season 1 of The Simpsons was edgy for the time, and that now it's just like so fucking tame. But what I would do, I did rebel because I loved The Simpsons, and I found it hilarious. So I would just they would have their TV on in their bedroom, and watch The Simpsons when they thought I had gone to bed, and they would have the door open a crack, and I would watch it through the crack in the door, and just like silently on the other side of the door be like watching The Simpsons.
Oh wait, so they'd still watch it?
They would still watch it, yeah. I just wasn't allowed to watch it.
Oh, that's funny.
It was a weird, like, oh, kids can't see this sort of thing. I wasn't allowed to watch Power Rangers when I was a kid because it was violent, and they thought there was this
I
whole...
was banned from that, actually. It was illegal in New Zealand, yeah.
Yeah, there was this whole, like, if the kids see the people punching, they're going to hit other kids, which, I mean, might be true. I'm not even... like, that's probably true.
Yeah, I think it was one of those things where there were a few stories of it, and then it, like, spread to all the, like, paranoid parents, kind of like GTA and South Park and stuff like that.
Yeah, just read the Bible instead. There's violence in that. You'll have kids do... If you read the Bible to them, they'll be doing incest instead.
Or worse.
Yeah. Genocides. Yeah, they were weird about video games, but it wasn't ever a content thing with the video games. It was like if you... So we didn't even have a console. So I would have had an N64, but I had to go to my friend's house and play it. So by the time that we were even allowed video games, my brother and I saved up to buy ourselves an Xbox. So when the Xbox original came out, that was our first console, and we saved up and bought it. And yeah, by that point, I was like, 13 or something? So like the content thing wasn't as much of an issue, I guess. I was watching a shit ton of horror movies at 13, but I guess my mom just gave up on trying to tell me no. She would like come down, just like look at all the titles that I rented, and she's like, "You're gonna turn into a serial killer." Or something, like just insult me basically and walk away and not even try anymore.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, it's funny how like inconsistent it can be with the limiting like what the kids. It is a joke in The Simpsons, isn't it? The what does she always say? Think of the kid, think of the children. Like she's always
Nurse Lovejoy
posturing to that. Yeah, that's right.
You reminded me of South Park. My parents would not let me watch South Park. But one day, my grandma, my dad's mom, she was looking after me. And I don't remember what age I was. I must have been like 12 or younger. And we went to the video store and she was like, "Oh, you can pick out a movie." I'm like, "Okay." So I just like picked out a South Park VHS. It had like 3 episodes on it. She didn't question it. She just assumed like, "Oh, I guess he's allowed to watch this sort of thing." And then we brought it back and I watched it with her. And it was the episode where Butters learns how to masturbate. and there's like, I don't remember. There's definitely like he goes into the bathroom and then like you hear audio, and then I'm pretty sure they like show white stuff at some point. And he's like, "What's this white stuff?" And blah, blah, blah. And that's happening the entire episode. Yeah. She was laughing. My grandma was fucking laughing.
Oh, she loved it.
Yeah, she liked that. Which
nice.
Is funny because all I hear
grandma.
from my dad growing up is like the same type of shit that my parents did to me. It's like there's no way. I feel like if it was like my dad, like with him being younger, there's no way she would be like letting him watch that and laughing at it. But grandparents always love to like spoil and like let kids get away with it. It's like, not my kid. They'll be my friend. So that was funny.
Well, seeing as you mentioned that, actually, Dabsloth710 said, "Thoughts on grandparents? Has any of your grandparents ever given you a movie recommendation? My grandmother, when I was a child, introduced me to the actor Jim Carrey and his films because she loved his style of humor and how wacky he can be at times. I've only got I've got one nan and one granddad left. My other side were gone when I was born, pretty much, so I never really had a relationship with them. But my granddad, one of his special interests is basically war movies. So that's one of the few things I can talk to him about, specifically like World War II movies. My nan doesn't really care about movies at all. I remember speaking of Lanthimos, having a funny conversation with her because she hated The Favourite. For some reason, she went to see The Favourite with some friends or something. And she's like a history buff. She was a history teacher for a long time.
And then it turned out to be a lesbian movie.
yeah. And like not historically accurate at all. No. And that was like her big contention. That's was great. Like, well, it just didn't happen this way. And I was like trying to explain it, but like she just didn't get it. She just didn't.
I knew there must have been a person that had that experience and not know what they were getting into. That's great.
Mm-hmm. That just makes it funnier to me.
Yeah. Relatively good relationships with my grandparents. They're not around anymore, but I didn't really have any like movie related experiences with them other than that South Park thing I told you about, which was hilarious.
Yeah, that is a funny one. Yeah.